Hey, Slick Talkers, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. And I know that if you love this show, you'll also love my morning show called Good Morning Hospitality with my co hosts Michael Golden and Brandy Canali, as we spend 30 minutes every Monday morning to dive into the industry's top latest news and trending topics. So go check it out on wherever you find your podcasts at Good Morning Hospitality. And you can live stream with us on Monday mornings on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Now, I hope you enjoy this episode. Running a short-term rental business is challenging and time-consuming. Whether it's 10 units or 1,000 units, trying to keep up with the latest trends, technology, hardware, revenue management, guest support, and R&D, it's become almost impossible and increasingly more expensive for the everyday host. On top of that, all of this tedious work does not allow you to focus on what matters most, and that is your guest. Luckily, this will no longer be a problem. Introducing Journey's MOS, the newest and most advanced tech solution in hospitality. Journey's MOS provides you with a one-stop solution that will automate your entire operation and take care of all of your back office work, allowing you to fully focus on growing your business the way you want to. To learn more about MOS, visit Journey online at journey.com. That's Journey, JURNY.com.
My lens that I look through life on has changed a lot from past life to this life, right? Like first business started in my past life and it was all about how I want to go run the score up. Like I want to go build this thing and I want to go conquer the world. And that was priority number one. And that I'm at a different chapter in my life. I'm coaching my kids lacrosse games. I'm going and I'm dad and husband first. At the end of the day, man, I'm not going to be successful being a leader of Sojo if I don't have a balanced life and I don't have good values and I don't have a good foundation. And my foundation is my family. And then the house I'm going to build on that, which is many of those rooms will be Sojo, is going to be in really good condition.
You're listening to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, a podcast for those who are in and around the hospitality industry who love, live, and breathe what they do. You can join us for candid and unscripted conversations with hospitality experts and founders as we go deeper into their personal stories while they're sharing their triumphs and trials that got them to where they are today. I'm your host, Will Slickers, and you're listening to an episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Now, let's begin. In hotels and vacation rentals, the top complaints or issues are noise, garbage, and parking. I may not be able to solve all of your parking and garbage problems, but I could definitely help with your noise problems. And that actually might just help your garbage and parking problems too. So NoiseAware is the only 100% privacy-safe noise monitoring solution that property managers and owners can use in order to ensure they avoid parties and other issues happening at their property. You won't get notified when a plate breaks, but if you have a little quiet get-together that kind of gets out of hand, like this, then NoiseAware will give you the peace of mind to ensure that you and your property, and of course, your profits, are protected. So use my code SlickTalk20 to get 20% off of all noise monitoring devices and focus on the other important things that help you run your business. Now, thank you for checking out Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Get back to the episode, and don't forget to check out NoiseAware while you're listening. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. And I'm joined by Max Farley, who's the founder of Sojo. And if you haven't heard me talk about Sojo already, you definitely got to check them out. But I'm really excited to sit down with you, Max, and get to hear your story to all the Slick Talk listeners out there in the world. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, we got to do a quick, brief chat, introduction, get to know each other. You and I got introduced from Joy, your amazing marketing director, who's a good friend and just doing good stuff in the industry. But you guys are in a specific niche of vacation rentals, right? So I want to dive into first, before we go into what Sojo is, kind of hearing your story and background and logistics and all the other stuff that you've done beforehand, and then the idea and aha moment behind Sojo, what it is, what you guys are doing, all that fun stuff. So at the beginning of it all, let's just dive into your early days.
So you want the origin story of like where the heck the idea
Yeah.
came from of Sojo? Yeah.
Let's bring it in.
So Sojo is great, and the most great things in my life have the origin story my wife's tied to, right? Like whether it's kids or family or marriage or anything, it's my wife gets a ton of credit for it, and so there's definitely an aspect of that to it. But my background, coupled with her idea, is really what led to Sojo. So my background is logistics, supply chain, and distribution. So I built a business and a career on delivering mission critical goods to customers across the country. And it completely different industry. Obviously, it was more like plumbing, energy, HVAC, so on and so forth. But it was really around how do we time the delivery of these goods to these customers that need them and are really up a creek if you don't hit that delivery window, right? So mission critical, just in time delivery. Built that business up for 6 years, exited that business in 2020. And I remember looking back and telling my wife, like, I'm never doing that again. Like, that was just hard, right? Supply chain's hard, like logistics hard, like everything was just a fight and a sausage grinder to get through. Never want to do that again. And then I had to figure out, what I wanted to be when I grew up after I left that business. And the idea really came from my wife, who continued to remind me, like, hey, Max, we've constantly talked about the vacation rental industry from a consumer standpoint. And it was, from our aspect as a consumer, it was, man, the guest, like the vacation doesn't start until you put your bags down, run out to the store, and come back, right? We have 3 boys, 9, 7, and 5. And so it was like, I mean, you're herding cats, right? I mean, you're getting there, like you finally get there and you just want to, crack a beer and relax. It's like, all right, we got to go get all the crap you really need for your trip. So it's just hard. And the idea around, for a consumer of the product, which is the vacation rental industry, the logistics and supply chain were challenging. And it always came back to, man, for a property manager, this has got to hurt, right? This has just got to be a pain point that these guys are feeling on a daily basis, and doesn't really get better with scale. And so that was really the combination of the two things that was a spark of, I got to go figure out if there's a way for me to add value to this overall industry with what I'm good at. And I was blessed to go and talk to a couple of really large, strong operators and tell them my idea at the time, which was probably just crazy and horrible. And they said, Max, that's an atrocious idea, but if you tweak it, it might actually be able to add some value and scale nicely. And so we took our time. I mean, it took probably 9 months to a year to really figure out, hey, how can I fit? Where does Sojo fit? What should we be great at? And then how do we scale the business? And so it was a collaborative effort with some really great, people in the industry, and landed some anchor customers after that. And we've been, running downhill ever since.
Wow, it's really cool to hear the back end, because like I've seen multiple patterns throughout interviews of guests on the show, is making the unsexy things in vacation rentals or hospitality in general sexy, right? Like, how do you make shipping and logistics or guest amenities sexy? Like they're just not something that we like to talk about as property managers.
Sure.
Hoteliers don't even like to talk about them that much, other than the eco-friendly products, or maybe they're doing a new initiative in the sense of that. But so that's one thing, is like, how do you make, like, I always think of Dave Krause from Rent Responsibly too. How do you make advocacy sexy? It's really not a sexy topic in the industry.
Sure.
But then also, you said you're never going to get back into shipping and logistics, after you exited, and now here you are back in shipping and logistics. And of course, what was that internal, I guess my question to you is, what is that internal battle like for you? Is it different now that you're in a certain specific of a niche inside a vacation rental or hospitality, like now that you're specific down into that category, does it make it easier for you? What was that internal battle like, I guess?
It was just, I mean, the internal battle was when I learned about the industry, the vacation rental industry.
Yeah.
It became acutely aware to me that the industry is yearning for an expert in supply chain and logistics, and it doesn't have one today, right? I mean, the volume of technology adoption in the industry is unheard of, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
property managers are getting just slammed every day with these new technologies, and it's all verticalized across the space. I mean, they've got different tools for all these different things, but back of the house operations in terms of like tangible, actual like operational assistance, right? Like stuff you can feel and get immediate results from, right? Is lacking. And there's so much stuff they're doing today that doesn't get any better when you go from 5 units to 50 to 100 to 500. It just hurts more.
Yeah.
And so the more I learned, the more I was like, man, like everything that I went through and have years and years of scar tissue from, offer as a great value add to these customers and partners as we go out and try to grow the business. And so it felt like a really good, just a perfect match, right? Like better to be lucky than good, right? Like I have this skill set of how do I build and scale a business within this offering, and then the
Yeah.
industry needs it and is at this time where growth and standardization and operational professionalism are needed to be able to continue to shine really well as an overall industry. And I was like, man, that's just a match made in heaven, completely unintentional by my part, but I'm certainly not going to look a gift horse in the mouth and say, no, I'm going to go try something else. So it worked out really well, man. I wish there was something more like intentional about it, but it was just a right place, right time. So it's worked out really, really well.
Well, yeah, and that's a big thing throughout like other interviews with founders on the show is it's always usually timing is perfect. You can't
Yeah.
like you can create a concept, but if the timing's not right, it's not going to work. But then if it's perfect a year later and the timing is right, then it's going to work. So I
Yep.
think we all know the key importance of timing is pretty crucial. Starting a business, whether it's in this industry or not, overall timing is very crucial. Um,
Agreed.
so for the listeners that may not be like maybe they're an individual host or they're a property management company that's listening in a like elevator pitch style, what is Sojo exactly to the T for any kind of consumers out there that are turning properties that do have linen closets full of amenities that they're having to keep track of and do inventory for and all that other stuff? Can you give us a quick elevator pitch of what
Sure.
Sojo is?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, the goal for Sojo is to be the operations automation partner for the vacation rental industry, specifically the property manager. Today, our core competency is amenities, and so we automate and streamline in a tech-enabled way the delivery of amenities in a just-in-time fashion. That means we hook into your calendar, we understand all your home configurations, and we deliver the goods to you when you need them. 2 or 3 days before checkout or whenever you want those goods for all of. So we take that ball entirely out of the air for a property manager, whether you have 5 homes or 1,000 homes. But that's that's one vertical that we're focused on, maintenance and then safety and other items that need to be turned over in the home on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, is where we want to focus and where we want to add value to the property manager. So anything they consider inventory that's not their overall home, that's us, man. I want to help them manage that supply chain and be their operational partner in that process.
Awesome. And so to kind of give a shout out to Breezeway along the way, what was that kind of moment and kind of like aha, I guess we call it all the time on the show, is that aha moment to integrate with a company like Breezeway?
Yeah,
Obviously, because you need a certain data set to do this, and we'll dive into what the back end of shipping and logistics looks like
sure,
from a non perspective of maybe a property manager or something else. But
sure.
yeah, what was that aha moment for you guys on that?
I mean, again, I've been very blessed with a strong network from my past life, and I got
Yeah.
introduced to Jeremy Gall and the Breezeway team, who are just, I mean, I couldn't have really a better advocate in the space, a mentor in the space. I mean, he was one of those guys I talked to really early on, and I said, hey, man, this is what I want to do. I want to start a business that looks like this and solves this pain point. What do you think? And he helped me craft that message and that vision, not with a Breezeway hat on, but more as a mentor hat on of, hey man,
Yeah.
here's what I'm hearing. Like, here's how I think you could tweak it to help. And as we got going, it was a mutual, man, you guys are from a work order management system and from a data perspective, Breezeway is best in class, right? There's no one out there that's better than them in terms of the, automating those workflows. And we can productize a lot of that, right? Whether it's amenities, whether, phase two is going to be, when that property manager writes a work order and they need a new air filter in their home. Well, instead of having that be a work order that someone in the property management company grabs and goes and does it, well, Sojo is going to send air filters, right? And we can productize a lot of the different actions and workflows that Breezeway is capturing. And so it was just a perfect match, right? I mean, they're they're from a technology perspective and a value add to the operator and the respect that they have in the industry. It was a slam dunk for us. And we were very just humbled and lucky to get them as an anchor partner in the space. And just, we're still in inning one, and they're just incredible partners, man. I mean, from customer success to sales to marketing, to the overall technology team. I mean, it's just it's what you want to aspire to be when you consider yourself a technology player in the space. And so it's a great partnership for us.
That's awesome. And I guess going into like great teams and great products and great companies overall for you as you're building this, and same industry in the sense of shipping and logistics, but specific niche in the vacation rental market. What was it like? Like, what's your thinking and mentality when it comes to creating a team? Because obviously you talk about joy, but like, you've gotten some pretty cool players on your team that I've gotten to meet throughout the industry. And so more or less, what's your thinking behind building that company culture, building the Sojo mission into the bigger company that you guys are seeing it take, as you, like you said, you're only in inning one. So, what's inning 9 look like for you guys as a company and team?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. Culture's everything, right? I mean, they're especially in a startup environment. I mean, people want to be passionate about what they're doing on a daily basis. They have to believe what they're doing, adds value. It's not just transactional. And so it doesn't matter that, the margins or the size of the industry isn't enough to go and not just attract, but really retain that key talent, right? I mean, they want to get more purpose out of their work. And so, I'd say one of my biggest strengths is I'm acutely aware of my own shortcomings, and admit to those a ton, which you don't have enough time on this podcast for those. So, I mean, it's a long list, man. And so one of the first things, once there was some there in terms of the product and the viability of the product, and we got some really strong anchor customers, the big jumping off point was, all right, I got to go build a team. I have to ask other people to come believe in this mission, in this business that I'm building. And I want to go get the best in class group that have strengths where I don't. And that's knowledge of the vacation rental industry, people that have lived in the operator's hat, lived in a PMS hat. Like, how have they done B2B tech sales in the past? Like, what does customer experience look like? What are the issues? And like, what's the persona that we're going to go after? And all those things that would take me years and years and years to figure out. You get someone great like a Joy or a Kaylee or a Brady on sales or customer success, and all of a sudden you're able to go and handle some good customers and get some respect, and not get some respect in the space, but you gain their trust and confidence, right? You know that you built a team that's there to take care of the client, which is really what, at the end of the day, what they want. I mean, no one's perfect, right? I mean, our tech's going to mess up, our logistics are going to mess up. It's how are you handling those issues and getting in front of those and making sure that the client's taken care of regardless of where those pitfalls are.
For sure. No, I love that. And, it's a big industry, but once you're in it, it's a small industry, if that makes sense. Like, everyone's got the same circle and connections, but at the end of the day, if you're like an outsider looking in, it's like it's just like looking at a giant. But and it can be hard to penetrate through sometimes too, because it's a close knit group. But no,
I'm an introvert, man. Like, at my heart, like, I'm an introvert. Like, if you can just put me in a room and let me work, like, I'm like big. I went to the first event I went to before we launched Sojo. It was in Destin, like a year and a half ago or something like that. And I wanted to be this fly on the wall at this event and like just sort of see like, all right, what is this all about? I hear trade shows are really important for the industry. And it was this fishbowl where like you couldn't escape, you couldn't hide. Like, you're just in this mix, and I'm at this table with property managers, and I'm just like sweating bullets. Like, man, what do I say to these guys? I didn't come. I wanted to listen, not talk. And it was amazing to see how, you said it perfectly, how it's very fragmented, and even though it's a big industry, it's very small. I mean, there's a couple of people that are just, they've earned their right to be, very influential and very impactful in the industry, and they're incredibly well connected. And so it's amazing to see how small the industry is.
Yeah, well, and you said it too. It's like I'm an extrovert by heart, I think, but I definitely have those days like at a conference where you're just like, I kind of want to relax. I don't want to talk as much. I kind of just want to float around. And the industry is so welcoming in the sense of like social and just like, hey, like, who are you? What do you do? And then they just start, we're naturally curious, I guess,
Yep,
along the
that's right.
way. And of course, hospitality. So people, 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 people.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's, I feel the pain sometimes because naturally extroverted, but there are days where you're like, oh man, I just want to enjoy my lunch and quiet. And then people come up and they're like, hey, blah, 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 blah.
That's right.
Yeah, super cool. But for now on the tech side, this is where I'm really curious because with an integration like Breezeway, obviously we all know what iCal links are and all this other stuff, but you guys are getting a pretty intense amount of data coming in through a property management software or operation software like Breezeway. What does the back end look like from, I guess, reservation booked to box arrived at the housekeeper's house or the property or wherever the overall destination is, right? For these
Sure.
amenities or in the future, who knows, pool filters, AC, or whatever filters there are in the
Yeah,
world and
yeah,
everything
for
else.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the operational technology is far more complex than building an API or hooking into an API that allows you to ingest the data, right? Because I mean, a lot of people have that. It's not unique or
Yeah.
differentiated in terms of being able to get data from the PMS or the source of the source platform that you want. For us, our secret sauce in building our overall platform, 80% of that work has gone into the back end of the operations. And so, as an example, you close a property manager that has 50 homes, right? They turn on whatever their API token is, depending on the integration point. If it's a guest, eTrack, Breezeway, whatever that is, we now get their home configuration data and their reservation calendar. Home configuration is super important to us. Number of full bathrooms, half bathrooms, kitchens, anything you want to associate a product to that we then deliver based on a reservation, right? And so we receive that data into our system, and then you've got the calendar associated with it. Now, our business model is checkout based, and so most of the property managers want their stuff to arrive 2 or 3 days before. We've got a 99% on-time delivery guarantee, so we thread that needle every time effectively.
Yeah.
But what happens is, let's say you've got 5 reservations, right? And now you've got all the products that the property manager wants to go with each of those homes, right? So we need to then go grab all of the items associated with those 5 homes, which are different, right? Not every 3 bathroom configuration is the same. They all want different stuff in every single home, right? Like, oh, this home sleeps 17 people because there's 2 bunk rooms, and so I really want more toilet paper and I want more trash bags, more shampoos. Like there's an opinion on every house, right?
Yeah.
And so you then have to package those items up in a box and then ship those items to the customer to make sure they get there on time. Now, the boxing side is really interesting. We've got software that we call sort of like a spatial or a cubing software. So we know exactly, like, if you've got 6 rolls of toilet paper, 3 bath sets, a kitchen set, and trash bags, well, it makes no sense for me to ship air. I lose money that way. And so I have to ship, in the most optimal box, right? And so based on your home configuration, and the products you associated with your home, there's an optimal box configuration, right? So think about it as like a Tetris, right? So like your reservation comes in, and in real time, I need to Tetris out your box for your home for Will Slicker's 1, 2, 3 way. And it's got to be perfect, right? And I have to put all those boxes in the same shipping package and deliver them to you. And I need to not only deliver them to you, I need to guarantee delivery on a certain day. So then we had to go build a bunch of integrations with FedEx, UPS, all the different major freight carriers. So when I know, all right, Will wants his stuff there 2 days before, Will's in zip code B, I'm in zip code A, based on the API integrations we have with all the freight carriers, when do I need to ship the goods to guarantee delivery on time? And then we reverse engineer from there, pick, pack, and deliver, and then ship. And then we track the goods all the way to the end destination point. So it's a bunch, man. I mean, I'm not a technologist, and I know enough to be really dangerous at this point in terms of how all those different things work together to create the sojo experience. And then be able to deliver on the promises we've made to our clients.
Well, I just found out that UPS, FedEx have API integrations. So I'm like kind of mind blown there just thinking about, I know API on the sense of property management softwares and Breezeways and the Noise Awares and all the other, software tech companies there are, but UPS has an API integration. I didn't.
Yeah. So
think
if you think about it, right, so like I'm in Irving, Dallas, Texas, effectively. That's where our warehouse and our headquarters is. Our employee base is distributed, but we're shipping most of our product out of Dallas, Texas. And so that's our origin zip code. Now, based on where your home is, you've got a destination zip code. And all these major freight carriers are shipping thousands and thousands and millions of packages from a major hub like Dallas to those different end destination points. And so I need to know in real time If I ship it ground, is it going to take 2 days or is it going to take 3? And I need to know with what percentage of confidence. Is it a 99% delivery confidence or is it an 80? If it's 80, I got to go pay 2 day, right?
Do
Now,
they
what
do they tell you the confidence level of
Oh, yeah.
delivery?
They
Oh,
don't
okay.
tell you the confidence level, but you can go query like the last 6 months number of shipments and what the average transit time was. So you then can make an informed decision on how you want to ship it.
I've said this on Slick Talk many times before, and as time goes on, it becomes more and more true. Operators have been so used to multiple logins, different dashboards, and overall segregated data points for their hospitality brand. I'm proud to say this is no longer going to be the case for the industry. As a podcast partner, Journey MOS is made for operators by operators. One dashboard, one solution to keep your business in shape and ahead of the competition. If you think this is too good to be true, then you need to go to journey.com, that is JURNY.com, to learn how Journey MOS can get you ahead of the big players in your market. And now, back to the episode. Wow.
But we have to do all of that. I mean, we ship thousands and thousands and thousands of packages a week. We have to do all of that from a technology standpoint. I can't have a person making that decision, right? So it all has to be built into the overall, platform that we have that systemically makes those decisions on behalf of our clients.
That is literally mind blowing to me. I can't even think about all of that. That's incredible. So it's a legit, like, just because we're focusing on the topic a lot. From like an operations standpoint of balance, right? Like, how do you balance the key, I guess, phrase of automation, right? Everyone wants automation. Like you said, there's a new software, new tech company. Like, the industry is embracing tech so much that there's always something new, that's something you can automate, right? And I think like there's a good balance between tech operations and that human experience, because if we automate too much on the property management software, or not software, but property management side, we lose that hospitality experience that some of our guests actually truly seek out. You see that in hotels, you see that in vacation rentals. But then if you don't automate enough, you're busy doing the mundane tasks that shouldn't be done or needed to be focused on. My kind of key thing is like trust but verify, like trust that the system's working, but have your systems in place to kind of just double check and make sure that those automated messages are going out, that you're tracking your packages and making sure that all the inventory is done, and not having to be so focused on all these tasks that you're missing out on that human experience. And so what I see with you guys, when what you just described, is really a balanced system. It's not just a tech platform that automates and then you ship it. Like, there's a real human aspect on the back end that has to actually fulfill now what the automation and tech has done, especially because we're humans. And like you said, 99% guarantee is, and something like this, I think, very realistic, because there's never going to be 100%, I don't think,
That's
with
right.
Human error in play. So have you seen it as like a balance? Like, you guys are really much balancing that out as well, or what's your kind of like overall?
It is. It's really interesting to try to describe we're still finding our voice. I mean, we're really early on in our business. We've got great clients, but we've got a far road to go. It's, as Joy, who runs our marketing, says, man, as Max, it's really hard to articulate a product-based business that's also, technology and SaaS oriented. And that's not, education, as is the most expensive way to sell. And so educating customers has been a challenge of really, how do we find our voice? How do we communicate effectively of where we fit? And how we can add value to that to the clients. But yeah, man, there's a huge human element. I mean, and I was before here, I came to a quiet place because my office is in a warehouse district, right? Like, we've got 16 dock doors and 250,000 square feet, and we're receiving containers of goods, right? And so that was right before I came here. It was another container of amenities that showed up, and it was and like, man, that ain't a good place to go take a Will Slicker's podcast deal. I got to go find somewhere quiet. But there's very much a human. You're in a warehouse, you're pick, pack, and delivering goods. I mean, it's not, we're not all, sitting around in hoodies and in WeWorks and trying to figure out, the next best, module that we're going to roll out. I mean, there's a lot of balance that goes on in actual, operations that needs to be, complete, so we can go and deliver on the, on the promises we made to those clients.
Definitely. No, it's incredible to hear. I truly find this so fascinating. This is mainly why I do the podcast, like, just to hear this type of stuff, because it's so different. It's so unique compared to a lot of things. And a lot of people just see the logo, right? They always see the
Yeah,
logo and the brand and the marketing and the LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram post, but they don't really know the day to day, the every second that's going on. And so for you guys, like you're talking about the amenities and stuff. So are a lot of these amenities either partnered brands, or are you guys creating your own? What's your overall business structure with the amenities themselves?
sure. Yeah, on the amenity side, we have Sojo branded items, so you can come in and typically for smaller property managers, less than 50 homes or less than
Mhm.
75 homes, will come in and just they enjoy the value add of it, they enjoy the technology and the automation of it, and they're not large enough yet to want to have their own brand across their amenities, and so they'll take the Sojo brand. We've got a lot of customers, given we started in the 100+ property manager space. We got a lot of property managers who want their brand all over it, right? I mean, they want
Mhm.
their brand on the amenities, on the soaps, on the shampoo, on the packaging, on the stickers, on everything. And so that's depending on, we do different promotions where, like, if you're a Breezeway customer, you get to go to private label for free, right? And so
Mhm.
you get your brand across your amenities, free of charge. So yes, we do offer Sojo brand, we offer private label, and we're starting down the path of going and having this third party, actual like market branded item. So if you want
Yeah.
like a very nice Aveda product, or fill in the blank in terms of an actual branded item that you want as an amenity, we'll offer that as well, to the Sojo customers. So
Wow.
we'll do all three. Today we're great at Sojo and at private label, and we're starting to get into the actual retail branded, wholesale branded items for people that have a really strong opinion on what they want in their home, in
Mhm.
terms of that, like in terms of the overall guest experience.
For sure. And not only are you guys managing the logistics of shipping and the data and the home configurations and everything else, but you're actually creating your own products.
That's right.
Uh, wow. So what? Now let's dive into that. That's like a whole another episode in itself. But like, what's the overall creation process? Like, how do you create soaps and shampoos and, and all these things that people have in their homes?
Yeah, so I mean, it comes back to my background was, supply chain was a grand term. It was domestic, but also international. So the
Okay.
past company was international manufacturing and logistics company, and so we manufacture it to the spec of Sojo or to the spec of the customer, right? And so we have our own design team. We'll go and send design. If you give us your logo or your color palette, or just tell us, hey, I would like to look like this, right? Like,
Mhm.
this is the vibe I want for my brand. We've got a design team that'll crank out some options. You say yes, you love them, sign off on them, then we actually go and manufacture those goods to your spec. We bring them into our warehouse,
Wow.
inventory the goods. Those goods are here for you, right? They're paperweights if you don't want them, and so we then pick, pack, and deliver based on your calendar activity. And so it's a soup to nuts. Like, we control every aspect of the supply chain, from manufacturing of the goods to the goods being delivered into your home.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm again mind blown by a bunch of things throughout this whole episode. But no, that's seriously, that's a lot of work, and it's a lot of, like, again, balancing the tech and that, like, actual, like, human piece and element is crucial in your guys' business. And it sounds from the goals of the mission and the drive of the company that you guys are already at and what you want to do, that balance seems to be very there, right? I think
Yeah.
you with your background, you're seeing this. So for you as a founder, I'm curious to know, like, what does balance look like to you when it comes to building such a, I would say, a more innovative product in the space than we've seen? There's a lot of property management softwares. There's a lot of other, type of tech and SaaS companies in the space. But I would say with your guys' specific niche and the growth opportunity that you're already talking about, for you as a founder, what's that balance look like as building a company?
Oh man, that's a great question, right?
Yeah.
And it's my mindset, my lens that I look through life on has changed a lot from past life to this life, right? Like, first business started in my past life, and it was all about how I want to go run the score up. Like, I want to go build this thing, and I want to go conquer the world, and that was priority number one.
Hmm.
And that I'm at a different chapter in my life.
Hmm.
I'm coaching my kids lacrosse games. I'm going and I'm dad and husband. First, 1A and 1B and interchangeable on the day.
Hmm.
And so it has to be. I think I get the at the end of the day, man. I'm not going to be successful being a leader of Sojo if I don't have a balanced life, right? And
Yeah.
I don't have good values and I don't have a good foundation. And my foundation is my family, and then the house I'm going to build on that, which is, many of those rooms will be Sojo, is going to be in really good condition. So it's got to be, it's number one, man. It's got to be number one, because it's the same thing for the employees. I
Yeah.
mean, every employee you have, they're not a number, right? I mean, they've got kids, they've got, husbands or wives, they got issues at home, they got parents that are getting older, they've got sick kids, I mean, we just went through COVID where it was like, man, everyone's working from home, and they're like, the kids are back in school. Nope, no, they're not, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so it's just if you're not in it with them, and you don't have your, if I guess if your priorities don't align with theirs, then you're going to have a really hard time, getting through, some of the peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And startups are a grind, man. You know this better than anyone. Like,
Yeah.
everyone wants to go look at the logo and look at the website and go, man, that looks fun. And it's like, startups suck. Like, they're a lot of work, and it's a grind, man. And you don't know if you're going to make it, right? And so you have this great idea, and is it the right timing, product market fit, the whole 9 yards. And so you have to have, I've been blessed to find some great employees whose goals and values align with ours as a company, and we'll continue to recruit and retain those people as we grow the business.
I love it. I love it. So true. Such a good statement. For you guys in the future now, as you're building, and I love that, a lot of startups, and this is kind of the reason why, I would say you're one of our newer company guests, right? Like, you haven't been around 5, 10, 15, 20 years in vacation rentals, and it's a very uncommon theme, I guess. So there's a lot of people that have just been in the space forever. But for you, you did talk about the time span of creating Sojo, making sure it was a good product market fit, talking to people in the space, doing your research. What, I guess, why was that so important for you, for outside of the obvious reasons, right? Like, we all, if you listen to any entrepreneur podcast or read any entrepreneur book, like, they're always going to say those same things. But for you, from, I guess, maybe your past life, what was that a big learning that you had with that business originally, and that you knew you wanted to make sure this was the right fit? Or I guess maybe what was the strategic planning into building Sojo?
Yeah, it was more so in my past lives, I've had mediocre ideas that we executed well,
Yeah.
right? Like, they weren't great ideas, right? It was just, we're going to operate the heck out of this business,
Yeah.
and we're just going to work harder than everyone. And so that was, I wanted to take the time to make sure we had a good idea that was just on its face adding value, right?
Mhm.
And I thought that I had the opportunity. I mean, there was no artificial shot clock. There was no gun in my head. I could have taken 3 years, 2 years, a year, and it was just hey, when I'm comfortable knowing that when I go talk to these people, I'm asking them to trust me, right? I mean, with pilot customers, I mean, we landed some whales as pilot customers, and we're asking them to take a bet on us. Like, I'm promising you a bunch of stuff. I've never done it before with you or in your space, so, like, it better be worth it, man. Like, there's got to be some return for that customer. And so I wanted to just make sure we were really thoughtful and intentional, and it wasn't a fly by night idea of hey, I'm going to come promise you this and then figure the rest out later. I wanted to make sure we were there and ready to deliver, from the first customer we had all the way to scale.
Yeah. So more or less of like the under promise, over deliver type structure. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And it was very much hey, this is what I think I want to do. Does this work for you? Like, what would you change? And so just wanted to take our time. I thought we had a really good idea in terms of, like, how we're going to go take the technology operationally and apply it to this industry. But I've never been in the space, right? And I'm not arrogant enough to assume I know what the pain points of all these different product managers are. And so I wanted to go talk to 100 of them, 1,000 if I could, and hone our craft based on their feedback. And that's what we continue to do. That's what we continue to do today, which is a blast, man. I get to talk to just it's probably like a microcosm of what you get to experience, because they're all different and no one does it the same, and they've all got this, like, this is how I figured it out. Like, I know, like, this is the cleanest dirty shirt I got, but, like, this is freaking awesome, right? And so it's amazing to learn and to be a sponge and figure out how we can tweak our operational technology and our logistics platform to really add value to just a multitude of product managers.
For sure. And I love quoting David Jacoby from Hostfully on this one, because he said, you look under the hood of a hotel operation, they're pretty similar. Hotels have been doing the same thing for the last 20, 30 years. Not a lot has changed. Like, you can pretty much apply it to any other hotel in the world. Granted, the few oddballs that are doing things differently. But then you take a vacation rental management company, look under the hood, they're never the same. They're all going to be different. They're so different and unique. And like you said, the homes and the inventory and the configuration so different, that everyone's got opinion behind it because of the amount it sleeps, or because of, well, this location is a little bit further, so we want to get that bathroom, this amenity,
That's
and
right.
this is,
That's right.
all that stuff. For you guys going into, being in such a different company, and really seeing all this stuff, maybe when you're asking all these questions to these big customers that you just, started out with, was there any questions or answers that you received, that you didn't expect, I guess, more or less? Like, was there an answer that you received that you're like, this is totally going to work, and then your customer comes in and is like, no, that's complete garbage, or they had maybe a different twist that you didn't think of? Was there anything that really just caught you off guard when it came to that initial survey?
Um, I wouldn't. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I all of my ideas were wrong, Will. Like literally every idea was wrong. I think my approach of, hey, I'm going to be just overly honest and candid, and sort of tell you what I know and don't know, and like I'm looking for feedback. I think setting those expectations made it to where they weren't like, hey, I'm hanging up the phone, like leave me the hell alone, right? So it was a good. It was a good platform for conversation. But the first idea was I wanted to deliver all the goods to the home, to the actual home of the property managers, not to their centralized location or to their cleaning crew or wherever. And so many of them said, Max, you're showing your ignorance in the vacation rental space, because no way on turn day are you going to be able to get 600 packages to homes in 30A, right? Like
Yep.
no freaking way. Like it's just too crowded. I'm not going to, the property manager, aren't going to trust even what you say you can do. Like that's not going to work. And so that's just one of 100 examples of like, okay, well, how do you do it today? Can I come out and visit your operations? I want to learn, right? I want to get educated so I can be helpful to you and your overall goals. And then tweak it to, all right, we'll deliver to your warehouse, we'll deliver to your cleaning crew, wherever it was. And then the light bulb started going off on the property manager side, and it helped a ton. So I think that was an aha moment for how do we, logistics is a big, broad term that's intimidating to a lot of people. Like, how do I make this like digestible for you, the customer, and translate it to where it can fit into your business? And that was that I wouldn't have been able to get there if it wasn't for a bunch of people that helped me out really early on.
No, I love that. That's so true. And is that kind of like why you guys went for the checkout day now instead of the check-in, or more or less, hey, like 2 days before? Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, because when checkout day, there's not many situations where we won't be able to deliver, right? On a check-in date, depending on where they are, the transit days, the one night stay, this, that, and the other, you increase the probability for not being able to deliver. Whereas a checkout, we're locked and loaded on the checkout side, and that came from direct feedback from. I mean, that was. Mike Perkins over at 360 was like, hey, dude, do this. I said, okay, great. And then I came back, I was like, hey, Mike, I'm going to try to sell you now. Like, thanks for helping me come up with this idea. Like, let me try to get you guys as a customer. So it was very much help me build it so I can come and add value to you. And that's what we've been successful at doing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. Well, I love to ask every guest on the show kind of as a final question of, everyone's been listening for the last, 40 minutes or so, about the product, about you, about, the company and the culture that you guys are building and the products in general, inside the property and the tech. Where's the best place that you would suggest anyone that wants to learn more to obviously, to either is it a website, is it LinkedIn? Where do you want people to go to, so that way we can make sure they get the best view, the best sojo experience?
Yeah, I would encourage them to go to getsojo.com. There's information there in terms of what we offer today, coming soon on some different verticals that we're getting into. There's form fills so our amazing sales team can reach out to you and learn about your business and help see if we're a good fit for different pain points that you're experiencing today.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to take everything in the show notes and make sure that everyone has that there. But I just want to say thank you so much for being on the podcast, for coming in and like really just being super intentional with the product and the company that you guys are building in the space. I think, the more, like you said, the more tech companies keep coming in and the more adoption we're having in the industry, it's going to be overbearing. So the fact that you guys are just pushing along on that side of being intentional and value add rather than a product ad, more or less, is really important and crucial. So I just want to say thank you for being on the show and thanks for doing what you guys do. I'm really excited to watch the journey to continue to grow. And yeah, obviously, and probably in a year we'll have you on the show again and kind of do a recap what's happened. And
cool,
it's gonna be really exciting.
No, humbled to be on here and thankful and just great to get to connect with you and know you better. And thank you again for the opportunity to come on.
Of course. Well, you heard it here first, Slick Talkers. You're going to go ahead, check out everything in the show notes. Make sure you like and subscribe to Everything Sojo, and we'll see you all again next week. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our show partners for making Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, possible. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love to connect with you outside of the podcast. So you can follow us on all of our social media channels for daily hospitality content, or find us on slicktalkthepodcast.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Will Slickers, and we will see you guys all again next week. As I've been growing my business and finding new ways to add to my property portfolio, I have to think about how I can anticipate the homeowner's needs, just like I do for my guests. One of the things owners always ask is, how is my property going to be protected? What happens if something gets damaged or worse? These are valid questions and concerns, and I have an opportunity to address these concerns before they even get mentioned, all thanks to having Safely as part of my toolkit. I can ensure all stakeholders are covered during a guest stay and use this information as a way to grow my business by ensuring my property owners know they can trust that I have them covered. If you're a professional property manager, then you need to get Safely in your tool belt so you can focus on operating and growing your business. Thanks for listening to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Now, back to an episode. What's up, everybody? If you've gotten this far into the episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, then you are amazing, and thank you so much for tuning in. We want to send you two places really quickly. If you can, check out the show notes and click the hospitality.fm link. Check out all of our other shows on the podcast network. And don't forget, if you have someone that you want to hear on the podcast, then fill out the guest fill out form so that way we can get them on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy another episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast.